You're listening to Femfluence Radio, created for women desiring more influence and affluence and are looking for other women who want the same. I'm your host, Jennifer Kemp, but you can call me Jen. I'm a serial entrepreneur and founder who's built 4 multi-million-dollar companies. I'm also a mom to 3 amazing humans and a wifey to the self-proclaimed slay-at-home dad. Whoa, that makes me tired just saying out loud. On this show, we'll have the real BS-free conversations that every woman wants to have, but no one's talking about with the honesty we deserve. We'll chat on the intersection of too muchness and not enoughness, what aligned success looks and feels like, and what it takes to dismantle old systems, beliefs, and thinking that get in the way of what we really want. If you're an ambitious woman looking for a collective that will support you as you grow into the next level leader you and everyone else knows, likes, and trusts, then stick around because you're already home and amongst friends. Now, let's go build longer tables together. When it comes to being feminine, womanly, or even feminist, there isn't a way to do it wrong because there isn't one way to be a woman. One of the struggles women who are ambitious have is fitting into society's vision of what we're supposed to look like. Taller, thinner, more outspoken, less aggressive, not too negative, never angry. Hell, we're not even allowed to be ever in our feelings, or else we're called crazy. But here at Femfluence, we're redefining what it means to be a woman, because that can look like anything we want. Yes, friend. Full permission to be the woman you define here. Part of being less sensitive to rejection and people not understanding us is to accept that we are all different. But we also have a lot of common denominators too. Like, number 1, we're strong. Yes, we are strong. The things that we need to do to get our life right and move through it, we are strong. Number 2, we are better together. That's part of the value system we have here at Femfluence. We believe that when we pull up a chair for another woman, we're doing great work in the world. And we have the opportunity to change the world where our daughters and our sons can start seeing women who are modeling their values and are confident and clear. Because it starts with us looking in the mirror and owning our confidence, clarity, and courage. And in order to do that, that comes from the inside. That doesn't come from the outside. Because when we model those mindsets with action and do that on the outside in a clean way that we can be proud of, it helps us get our shit done faster and with less noise and friction. And let me tell you, as a woman, we have to deal with a lot of noise and friction. But I have something for you that will help you with that. Because those that know and live their values create more prosperity in their lives, in all the coins and paper that grow our own personal economies while we contribute at a higher level in the world. Now, I'm curious, do you want more of that? Well, then keep listening because this episode is totally for you. Now, back in episode 3, I talked about how I personally get so much done, how I make decisions that give me peace of mind instead of keeping me in chaos, and how this has changed everything in my life. Now, that episode gives you the background and the way I've built what I call a framework to make guilt-free, clean decisions. So I highly recommend, if you get a chance, listen into that episode first because it works nicely with this episode on seeing the whole picture of values-driven living. On this episode specifically, I'm going to dive deeper into this framework that I created for myself first, and then for my life, and then for my business. And now it's the center point and nucleus of how I work with other companies, big and small, to grow their leadership in their marketplace and in leadership of their people. And it's actually completing the idea of how to create deeper connection, which is one of our other values at Femfluence, and on another episode, by learning how to tell your story in a way that bridges understanding to a solution, a talent that most successful people employ, and one that I want all women who want to create more affluence and influence to master. So stay with me because I'm going to teach you that in this episode. Now, at the risk of you calling me utopian and totally full of it, I truly mean it when I say that I rarely regret anything I do or do not do. It sounds so Yoda-like. To be clear, that doesn't mean I'm immune of guilt, especially when a trade-off I make affects my family. But being peaceful and feeling guilty can coexist as far as I'm concerned. And that's a huge win. It's a total change from the way I felt in my 20s and my early 30s when I felt like I had to please everyone and still figure out a hard way to become as successful as I dreamed of. And that's why one of the core values of Femfluence is being values driven. It's especially potent and important for women leaders like us. Because when you're values driven, the rewards come from being who you authentically are. Now, let's scale back the timeline here. And I've told you a lot of my stories in the episodes leading up to this. And for many of my adult years, I was not values driven. I was results driven because, frankly, I was rewarded to be results driven. If you work in the corporate world, you understand what I'm saying here. Because you're given goals every quarter and year, and which you're rated against and given rewards like promotions, wage increases, and bonuses are based on results. Now, if you own your own business, I hope you also have some type of system to achieve financial and other measures of growth in your company. Even if you're just a one-woman show right now, these types of metrics do matter. But what's usually missing is linking these metric results to your values instead of the other way around. Now, let me be clear, girlfriend. I still believe in results. Instead of them being the way, they are the side effect of living in my values. And here's the second part that I didn't mention in episode 3. By telling my stories powerfully and with the potency of a leader no one can deny, those results become huge. Any leader desires for the things that they care about, whether it's their own personal movements to create a spark and create momentum. Those are things that we want, right? We want our ideas to get velocity under them. We want people to hear them, to see them, and to be part of the movements we want to create. So in order for the people you want to ethically influence into your movement, you have to make them care. Because that's part of the issue, is that we think that people care about what we care about. And when we're living a values-driven life, our job is to help them see why they should care, because we want to know if they're aligned or linked to the values that we have. So to do that, you have to connect your values to their values. And how that happens is telling stories. Because here's a little simple equation. Your values told through your stories plus resonance with your stories, linking their stories to yours, ends up linking both stories to their values. And that's what creates influence and affluence. Let me repeat that just so you can write it down and get it. Your values told through your stories, plus their resonance with your stories, where they link their stories to yours and link both stories to their values, is what creates influence. And that's what helps you get paid to be you, by finding out who resonates with your values and stories and who doesn't. Because here are the things that you need to know. Whether you're in the corporate world or you're building your own business, you are building your own personal brand. People are deciding who you are based on your willingness to tell your story in a values-driven fashion. And the job of a great leader in anything is not to just attract the right people, but to repel the wrong people just as fast or more, okay? Also, great brands like you and leaders waste little time on convincing people of anything. They focus on enrolling people into the linking of their values and their stories. Also, great brands and leaders don't throw up on their audience with stories. And what I mean by that is so many times, and it drives me bananas because I hear people teaching people about storytelling and saying, hey, yeah, be completely authentic and transparent. Well, there's a difference between being authentic and transparent. Not everybody needs to know your business if it's not serving the solution that you're looking to enroll them in to. Okay. Some of those stories are meant for your coach or your therapist, straight up. Okay. And it doesn't mean, this is very controversial because people are like, oh no, be all of yourself. Well, here's the thing. If you're only being all of yourself and you're not thinking about how that resonates with the other side of the coin that pays you, which is them, then you're just being selfish and you're just trying to create stunts and conversations that have no true enrollment capability to move them into what they need next. Instead, great brands and leaders choose the stories to create new moments of enlightenment and resonance that actually support both sides. Also, great brands and leaders don't market their business like anyone else. Instead, they're in what I call the moment creating business. So your job as a leader, as somebody who wants to enroll people into your movement, is to create moments that people don't ever forget and includes them and their story. That's what a woman of Femfluence does. She creates affluence and influence by serving at this level, not in the middle where the most comfortable are. So what are the ingredients of a powerful story? Remember, this is the other side of values-driven living, telling a powerful story. And every year I do one of my most popular online challenges, and it's added over 48,000 new people into my audience. And guess what? I'm going to share it with you right now so that you can increase your audience and or be a better influencer inside of your company too. And to help you out, as I always do with every episode of Femfluence Radio, I've attached a worksheet. You can work these steps and answer these questions. So make sure to download that along with listening into this episode when you get a chance. So here are the 7 steps in speaking a values-driven story that will help you gain more affluence and influence. So the first is identify your essence. You're going to answer the question, why you? Why should anyone choose you? And what do you really do? Number 2 is your catalyst moment, which is that moment. And there are a number of catalyst moments you've had in your life. I know that because literally you're creating a story listening to this episode right now, because you might even have a light bulb go on right now. That's a moment. But pick one. Do you remember the moment you felt called to start your business or felt called to take a more leadership role inside of your company? Let's explore what happened and then what happened next, which is step 3, which is your Phoenix move. What was your biggest struggle? What was the dip you possibly fell into? That was that catalyst moment. And how did you rise out of the fire? Number 4 is, what do you do really? Because a lot of times we tell people what we do, but we don't really tell them what we really do. So that starts with knowing what your biggest talent and secret superpower is. Step 5 is building your audience. So that means knowing who they are, at least taking a stab at who you think they are. Who are they? Not just outside, so those demographics, but inside, which are the psychographics, meaning what's really driving them in life. What are the fears and the desires that they have? And what do they need and want most from you? Step 6 is, what is the culture and credo of your brand or who you are? What will your brand or your personal story represent? How do you want it to make people feel? And number 7 is inspired action. So how will you help people as you tell your story, turn your story into action steps? What do you want people to do next after they meet you? Now, This whole framework, these 7 steps, I teach in that challenge that I mentioned earlier, which I'm going to give you access to in a moment, which I'm very excited about. But the question I have for you right now is, how would you like me to teach you how to use this further inside of growing your own personal brand and currency? Because building your personal brand isn't just about entrepreneurship. If you want to rise up the corporate ladder or leave your job for a better one, telling your story in a compelling way is critical. The good news is I'm going to be running that super popular thing that I mentioned earlier called the Brand Story Challenge. And even better news, it's free. It's done online from the comfort of your home or office, so you can have the flexibility and guidance to play full out. And those 7 steps, I'm going to actually help you build your story so that you can share it, not just verbally, but in writing if you want to as well. So here's how you play. Make sure you write this down. Go to brandstorychallenge.com/FF. brandstorychallenge.com/FF, so that I know you've learned about it right here, and I'll make sure to give you a shout out while we're playing. Now, let's keep it all the way real. One of the reasons women don't play full out is because of one of 2 things. Number 1, you don't know where to start. And number 2, you're nervous to get seen or heard, and you want the courage to write and speak your story, but something's stopping you. I know what's stopping you, because it's stopped me too. And we'll be talking about how to break through that in the next episode. Thanks for listening to Femfluence Radio. If you resonated with this episode, please leave us a review and let other women know about it. Remember, we're building longer tables here. Follow us on Instagram at femfluence_official to stay in the conversation, and also visit femfluence.com to sign up and receive things I only give to our listeners and friends. I look forward to our next chat.